So, having just put out a shorter video talking about the misinformation being put out by a particular media outlet, I thought I'd jump in and tackle this one because I actually had this video queued up, ready to go, and then the phone calls were released. So this one's been sitting on my iPad for over a week now. Having gone through the phone calls, there's still a few things that I want to cover, but I thought having released one short video today, it's probably a good time to actually do this one at the same time. So this question of does Jen actually own her car came about the other week when I was having a look at the confusion over whether or not Stearns arrived on the Saturday or the Sunday. And I was going through a bunch of clips because a lot of people were convinced that the old couple, the neighbours, had said that they had seen him on the Saturday. And going through the clips, I discovered what the problem was, and that was, if you've not seen this video, basically they had asked them when they last saw Stearns, and they had said a week and a half ago. And then they specifically asked him, when was the last time you saw any of her family? So, completely different question there. And that's when he said he'd seen him the weekend before and he saw him go out and sit in the white car. People have heard the first part of it when they've asked about when you last saw Stearns, missed the part when they said, when did you last see any of the family, and thought that they were talking about Stefan going and sitting in the white car. So, in the process of pulling up that clip, I came across a comment amongst all that got me interested, especially because a few of my subscribers had actually mentioned the registration on Jen's car. So let me just go through these clips and then I'll show you what the problem is.
And in the past few days, have you seen any of the family members?
Yes.
Okay. When was that, more or less?
It was last week, sometimes last week. I don't know, I can't nail down the day, but it was last week. We saw him come and go.
Okay. Was he driving or walking?
No, he came out. When I saw him, I was going out to check my van to make sure the windows were all closed, and he was coming out and he went to the white car that they own it together, but he went and sat in the white car. Okay. And then I didn't see him after that.
So we can deduce fairly confidently that he is talking about Juan because he knows Juan. Whereas we've not heard about any other male family members. The other family members that we've heard of are all female. So I would imagine that he would know Juan by sight. So when asked if he saw any of the other family members, he is specifically referring to a male family member, and comments that he saw him and that he went and sat in the car that they own. And then he queried that basically it sounded like he wasn't entirely certain that they owned it together. It was like he was questioning I think they owned it together, that sort of thing. So that got me curious. Why would he think that they own the car together? I mean, it seems logical that Jen couldn't afford a brand new car living on disability. And I think we've all spoken about that over and over again. Like, how did she pay for that car? So it made sense that perhaps they did own the car together, or that Juan bought the car for Jen. So I wanted to dig into that a little bit. And someone mentioned that the tags on the car actually didn't match up with Jen's birthday. But they weren't sure if in Florida that's how it worked. So I looked it up, and sure enough, in Florida, the registration sticker should basically be that the registration expires at midnight before the owner's birthday. Now, they did say there the first owner's birthday, and we know that she got that car brand new, so that's a moot point. So if the car wasn't brand new, then we could say, well, maybe that's why the date doesn't match. But we know that Jen's birthday is in March. And I thought it was interesting that people were saying, well, it must be Juan's birthday. So I went and had a look at the car, and I brought up the photos from the all the forensic stuff to see what it said in terms of the registration date for the car. Okay, so you can see the yellow sticker up on the right-hand side of the number plate, and if you look really, really closely, you can see that it says 0924 in terms of the expiry. And what I've done, just to make that easier for people, is that I've actually used the magnifying tool just to blow that up just a little bit more, so it's blurry, but you can still see it. Definitely says 0924. So the registration on that vehicle doesn't match Jen's birthday. So I thought, okay, so maybe it is actually registered to Juan, and he bought it for Jenn. After all, she's living in a townhouse that he bought, and he's renting it to her pretty damn cheap. So maybe he bought the car also. So the first thing I did was try and find out when Juan's birthday was.
And that was, we were approached by
The
Soto 3790, Juan Gilberto Soto Jr., 10/23/1953.
So if you blink, you miss it. But this was the interview that they did with the, basically where Juan and Stephanie approached them and did a kind of an impromptu interview. And you can hear that they say basically Juan Gilberto Soto Jr., 10/23, and then 1950 something. So his birthday is in October. So that doesn't match either. So I thought that was really interesting, because we have this vehicle that doesn't match Jen's birthday, doesn't match Juan's birthday. So I thought, well, could it be Yolanda? Maybe she purchased the vehicle. So I went and I looked for the interview with Yolanda.
have your ID so I can get your name down?
I have it in my
Oh, that's fine. How do you spell your name?
YOLANDA.
Uh-huh. And your last name?
Zambrano. Z as in zebra. AMBRANO.
And what's your birthday?
9/29/67.
And you do have a Florida ID. I can
Yes,
look up with that.
yes.
Okay, cool.
So it turns out that Yolanda has a birthday in September, 29th of September. So it seems quite possible that she could actually be the registered owner of the vehicle, which to me gives two different possibilities. One, and you have to help me out on this because I don't know what the rules are in Florida, but people have mentioned a few times that being on a disability, Jenn can only have so much worth of assets. So is it possible that owning that car was going to bump her over the asset threshold and cut off her disability payments? So maybe she did buy the car for herself, but it's registered in Yolanda's name for that reason? Or did Yolanda buy the car for her and register it in her own name because Jenn is such a flake? Because we've seen Jenn's not the most brilliant person on the planet. So I think if I was in Yolanda's position and I was going to buy my daughter a brand new car, my daughter who can't keep a job for more than a couple of weeks, then I probably would want to put it in my name. So I've got some control over the matter. And I guess that way also then the insurance would be done in Yolanda's name. Maybe all the money that's going into that car is going into that car from Yolanda, in which case she's more than entitled to have it registered in her name and just allow Jenn use of it. I had wondered, given that the neighbour thought that the car belonged to Juan, or that they shared it, I had wondered if perhaps with him travelling around doing the van life, he didn't have a Florida address to register the vehicle. But then I realised that wouldn't make sense because he owns a van. He's got to have that registered somewhere, so he's got to have that registered to a Florida address, and it would probably be registered to the townhouse address. So it seems possible that in fact the registered owner of Jenn's vehicle could well be Yolanda. It certainly doesn't appear to be Jenn, because according to everything I've looked at in Florida, the vehicle is, the expiry date on the tag is based on the registered owner's birth date. In which case, the only person we can match it up to is Yolanda. Now, obviously, unless we have eyes on the actual title of the vehicle, and I'm not going down that path, because obviously you have to be in law enforcement or something like that. So it would take someone like Strategic Eyes to actually do that and find out for certain. And, you know, maybe someone can mention to him, have a look and see if the car is registered to Yolanda. But it seems quite likely that the vehicle is actually, at the very least, registered in Yolanda's name, if not having been purchased by her and currently owned by her. So it doesn't make a huge difference to the case really, but it could answer the question of how can Jenn afford a brand new vehicle. So just a short and sweet one. I've probably caused more confusion than I've cleared up in this video, but hey, what the heck. So thanks for watching. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, please hit the like button and leave a comment. What are your thoughts about this vehicle? Thanks, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Sometimes